Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the darkest timeline. Just me at the moment. There are other episodes with guests. I've been promising, threatening guests, so do go and check those out if you haven't. But this one is just me. I'm talking about going to children's shows. It's that time of year at this point in time, so going to see children's shows. Body pains, Christmas shopping. Yeah, it's that time of year, I'm afraid. Trip to see Santa, Father Christmas, however you call it. Movies, games, and VR. No TV in this one, I'm afraid. But yeah, the other three are there. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And the big one, the main one, the one we all want to see, share the podcast around. It's a big help to us here at the podcast, and we do appreciate it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the darkest timeline. Hello. So this is starting to become a bit of a habit. Monday night podcast, Monday evening podcast, whatever you want to call it, recorded on a Sunday. Yes, got a whole guest situation going on tomorrow, which I always feel weird like saying like dates and times and things, because ultimately the podcast in question you'll have had weeks ago. Very strange situation. I should probably just take 3 weeks off and let these get up to date. Then you can guarantee I'll end up being super unwell or something. How is everyone doing? We all well? As always, have to presume you said yes. You said, I'm great, thanks. How are you? One of those this week. It's kind of like me. It's a bit simple this week. A few things from the week. One of each entertainment item. I'm lying. That's absolutely a lie. I've just realised. No TV. It's because there's VR to think about these days, you know. So, that time of year, went to the Nativity, and a very interesting occurrence for this. One of the few what would you call it? Activity. Let's go with that. No, it's not an activity. It'll make more sense when I talk about the dance show. But, things like that where your children do, they're not activities like shows, performances, parents can come and watch type things. This is one of the few where I saw all three of my daughters. So 2 daughters performing, 1 daughter helping out. She was doing the lights. So I got to see all daughters in one foul swoop. And I took my son with me. So, all of the clan in the same room at the same time. It was hilarious because it was... this part of me was it was a shit show. It wasn't a shit show at all. They had a technical issue where the music went out. So the children had to sing nice and loud. And they did very well. I did notice that my youngest daughter was leading the charge, shall we say. She was doing very well at keeping it all going. show must go on and all that. And thanks to her, it certainly did. It wasn't anything to do with, the teachers or anyone else. But yes, my youngest daughter was singing loud and proud. I had one of those difficult parenting moments. Leanne had already been to the nativity earlier in the week. We decided to divide and conquer, made things easier. So she'd given me some pointers, and those pointers were the children are on the left. So if you want to have a chance of seeing them, go to the left. So I was like, you see, insider information. So I get there, get as far over to the left as possible. And then what I'm faced with is 3 foot away from my middle daughter. Like, she's literally right there in front of me. And my line of sight is blocked to my youngest daughter. And I'm like, for want of a better way of putting this, I've seen you perform before. However, things like this is the first time to see my youngest daughter. So I'm like, waving and getting my son to wave and all this. But I'm also trying to see my youngest daughter whilst also being like, you're doing very well also. But I want to see the youngest daughter doing what she's doing. So I'm like bobbing and weaving and up and down and ducking and diving, trying to say, cannot see her at all. I'm like, this is bad times. And my middle daughter's like, hey, look, I'm doing it. I'm like, you're doing very well, darling. You're doing real well. It's amazing. I am trying to see your sister. So at the point where I truly believed all hope was lost, they moved. So the little ones went up on the stage, did a thing, came back and sat in a different position, and then clear line of sight to the youngest daughter. So I was like, cool. They did very well with a technical difficulty, a technical hitch, a technical whatever. No music for one of the songs. They did amazing. It was a good time. My son sat very nicely, and when he didn't sit very nicely, he stood very nicely. Right up until the point where, like some kind of weird delayed reaction, he suddenly realised that my eldest was there and was sat at the back. And he then went, I want to go and see her. He loves all of his sisters. He really does. But he absolutely adores his biggest sister. So, like I say, some kind of like delayed reaction. And all of a sudden, he's like, hey, I want to go over there and be with her. And I'm like, you can't. And he's like, I don't understand that word. So I'm going to go. I'm going to leave you here to deal with this. And I'm just like, oh no. I had all planned out. I had an amazing plan. I'd taken something for him to eat while we were there, which I lost before sitting down. So that went real well. You know what they say about best laid plans and all that. It was a very good show. It was a very good time. It was something I will say this, something I've noticed recently, which I personally am not complaining about. Something I've noticed recently is they're making these live performances, these live shows, these whatever, a lot quicker. I remember going to like a nativity play years and years, and I mean years and years and years ago, many years ago, and it just went on. It was long. And I was just like, this was in the days when it, not my children sort of situation, not my child. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I can do this in future. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to work out how to say, I'm unavailable for that sort of thing. And, what would I do if I had children, this sort of thing? You compare that to what I went to the other day and what I went to today, which I'll come on to. And wow, world of difference. It's like they've realised, hey, let's face it, you're only here to see your own child and you don't want to be here all day. So very much in and out. So that was that. I wrote something down on my list and I was like, I'm going to talk about that on the podcast. It's a very strange scenario to talk about, because I don't feel how it might sound like I feel, which I'll explain. My neighbours, not them personally, but my neighbours have had a tree cut down. Why is this something to talk about? So, I feel like I'm in a weird position. Just trying to get a drink. So, let me explain. This tree was massive. And from Leanne speaking to my neighbour, she found out that the tree had been planted in the 70s. So, 50 plus years old. It was massive. One of the biggest trees in the area. And I live next to a park. So, apparently, allegedly, the tree had gained some rot and ultimately the tree was becoming too difficult to manage. It was very large, sheds a lot of leaves in the winter, costs a lot of money to maintain, also had this rot which was going to be, over time become a problem. Best thing to do is to sort of to remove the tree. So I don't know how I don't no that's not I kind of don't know how I feel about it, because I understand all of the things that I've just said, but at the same time this tree was huge. Very much a fixture and living thing, doing its bit for the planet, etc., etc. And it's just been chopped down. Now, saying it's just been chopped down makes it sound like it was a relatively quick job and didn't take nearly all of last week. Now that, in some way, might give you an idea of the size of the tree. Some of the interesting things is that apparently it's a lot easier to repeatedly move your van rather than just not block somebody else's drive. Apparently that's the easiest thing to do. But also fun thing. Apparently you can go into a place that sells chainsaws and ask them this question: what's your loudest chainsaw? Obviously, one of those things. You need to chop a tree down, you need a big chainsaw. There are other things involved, a wood chipper, and one of those machines that grinds up a tree stump, just like shreds it. But it has taken basically a week to sort out, to remove, to take all the logs away, or wood chip or whatever. But it made me sad. I'm a bit like that poor tree, and I felt quite sad about it. I'm like, what did that tree do to hurt anyone? And was there no way to save it from this alleged rot? And outside of the noise and the disturbance and the I can't get on the drive, and it's interesting if you need like ear protection to run a piece of machinery, it's not considered that anybody in the vicinity needs ear protection. I understand proximity and stuff. Something so loud it shakes the foundations of your house. And apparently that's okay to start rocking it at 8 o'clock in the morning. All I could think was, can you imagine if somebody in the area worked nights? Oh my word, that would have been amazing. I had more days out of the house last week than normal because I was doing extra days in the office. Try and build up some office days. Moving towards Christmas. So, get things out of the way, etc. So, I was here less. But the time I was here, I was like, that is hands down one of the most annoying things ever. Cannot possibly express how loud and how long the whole process was. And, just taken as like a thing. I don't begrudge anyone overly. My neighbours have explained their reasoning, and that's that. And then you've got these people who have come to do a job, and that's their job, and that's that. And, tree's a tree at the end of the day. And I don't know. If I'm honest, I don't know why it made me sad or, a little bit upset. I don't know why, and part of me, there's the part of me that feels that it somewhat strikes me as unnecessary, whilst being told that it was necessary. It's that kind of, I think there's the aspect of it being a living thing. It's not an animal, it's not human, but it's alive. I don't know. It's just made me a bit sad. Been dealing with a lot of pain recently. As you can tell, whatever. It is winter. Winter brings with it a series of things. I have horrifically chapped lips. My hands are super rough through a combination of climbing, the chalk, lifting weights, just walking the dog, the cold, all of it. My hands, my thumbs do this thing where they split in the corners. So they're just like essentially these open wounds that if you get them wet, they get worse and hurt. If you do basically anything, they just hurt. The whole sort of situation is an absolute nightmare. But there was a day, might have been Thursday. Thursday is a day, as a rule, that is a particularly painful day. It's back-to-back climbing. Wednesday is the longest day of the week. Thursday is not exactly a dream day. But Wednesday is a long-ass day. 2 lots of climbing, and obviously there's also running, working out, etc. on those days. So on Thursday, I was like, what is going on with my body? these lips, the dry, cracked, chapped lips. The thumbs were screaming. Had a weird ankle pain. On Wednesday, I went climbing, and you would think I would develop an injury at climbing. I dropped off a couple of walls, had 0 injuries when I left. I came home and immediately went to walk the dog. So out the door I go to walk the dog. And as I stepped out the front door, now I don't mean stepped out the door funny or any of that sort of thing, just stepped out the door, I went, ow, that hurts. And my ankle was hurting. I was like, I haven't injured myself. Got to the point Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, going into Saturday, I was struggling to walk at various points while simultaneously going, I don't know what has happened here. But there were points when I had difficulty walking. I've had this shoulder issue. I think in the summer I injured my shoulder. I think there's a possibility that I may have dislocated it and popped it back in all in one go. However, adding climbing into my life has aggravated this injury. And at points, I have probably mentioned, at points it's been like I basically can't use my arm. And it all stems from the shoulder. Also, I thought, I'll mention something about that in a minute. And then the shoulder was tying into the a neck pain. So, to reiterate, lips, thumbs, ankle, shoulder, neck, all hurt, all at the same time, all different kinds of pains, all painful. And I went, I think I'm going to ask Father Christmas for a new body for Christmas, for a replacement body for Christmas, because this one is fucked. Going back to the shoulder thing. So I had this injury. Another one of those. Didn't think too much of it at the time. Only at the point that I had the climbing in, did this thing become an issue. There's been a couple of points where I've struggled to actually use my arm. A lot of that comes off the back of like big climbing sessions, things like that. So I got a shoulder support just to try and relieve some of the pain. And then I'd had an issue at a particular point in time where I started to wonder whether the shoulder support, rather than making things better and easier and more capable, was actually making things ever so slightly worse, to the point where I'd worn the shoulder support for an entire day for one reason or another. Took it off to go shower, and in the process of getting undressed to shower, completely locked my arm out and went, well, that's not good. Went in the shower, was showering, and my arm locked out, and the pain that went with it, because the first time there was no pain, the arm was just locked. Second time it locked, and excruciating pain. After the pain eased, and I was like, what is going on here? I realised that this all started after I took the shoulder support off. Over the last week, I've been trying some things. I've been trying a few things. And some of those things were around, if I don't use the shoulder support, but do the exercise that I'm intending to do, lift weights, and ultimately, once I got to the weekend, climb, did it make it better or worse? And I was able to get the pain in the shoulder to move through the shoulder and to come out the front. But at the point in time I'm talking about, the shoulder pain was still in the shoulder and had moved into my neck as well. and my neck seems to be bearing the brunt of it, especially on a morning. When I wake up and get out of bed, my neck is like, it's locked up. So yeah, all of that pain in one day, and I was like, I need a new body. This body has expired, apparently. It no longer works. Speaking of Christmas, had to go and do the dreaded Christmas shop. Not the food one, the other one. Ultimately, it was a trip to a toy shop, and it was a very expensive time. We were those people. We were the people that nobody wanted to stand behind. Now, being decent people, we let the people behind us go through the tills first. The person behind us had one item to buy, and the person behind that, weirdly, had one item to buy. We let them through and then realised that there was a queue forming, and some of the people in the queue had more items than just an item. So it's like, right, that's our cut off. We've let a couple of people through. Let's just get this done. And as it was, as you'd expect in a toy shop just before Christmas, the people there were just literally banging the items through. Beep, 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 beep. Done, sort of thing. Not going to lie, I am struggling. As we know, Christmas is a bad time for me. I won't go into the many, many, many reasons that is. Christmas is a bad time for me. I have come to terms with that to the point where I know I need to put effort and energy into making Christmas not suck for other people, i.e. my family and mostly my children. So, I've got to do the do. I've got to play the dance. I've got to... all of the ways that you want to slice, saying I have to do my bit. I have a problem, though. My problem is this. My children don't want anything. My children don't need anything. I recently announced to the world that my children are, for want of a better way of putting it, for want of a better way of things being, my children are spoiled. They basically want for nothing, to the point where I imagine there is an aspect where they're like, it's too much. Even for them as children, it's too much. That comes from me being a child and forever wanting. You know, my birthday is in the middle of the year, so you're basically 6 months away from birthday. Christmas can get a bit much at times when you're a child who only gets birthdays and Christmas. So, even a sniff, even a hint, even a suggestion that my children want or need something, they've got it, they need it, whatever. So the need aspect has basically left their vocabulary. They don't need anything. Now then, I'll give you an example. My middle daughter has reached that point where she needs footwear. She needs some boots. Okay, let's go to the shop. Let's look at boots. And if you see some you like, tell Father Christmas that those are the ones you want. There we go. Job done. My other daughter, may or may not be my eldest, took the opportunity to say, I like that pair of footwear there. And I went, okay, well, that's something. It's good you like those. Making a mental note, got to let Father Christmas know, etc., etc. If I say to My eldest, what do you want for Christmas? Don't know. Say to my middle daughter, what do you want for Christmas? I want some boots. Okay, anything else? Don't know. Youngest daughter, what do you want for Christmas? I want a coffee machine. That seems about right. And if I asked my son, he'd probably be able to say Christmas. That then leaves you the job of going out of the house, going to a toy shop and going, what the hell do any of them need? Nothing. What the hell do they want? Very little. Okay, so how exactly do we do this? So you cobble it together, you put it together. Well, this child likes this. They have mentioned this in the past. Let's get that. In the trolley it goes, job done. Well, this child has actually said that they want this. So again, for example, my youngest daughter, she doesn't want, it's not just a coffee machine. She wants some roller skate boot things. So you go and you look and you're like, are these good pair? These look good pair. What about all the pads? You got to get all the pads. Don't want any broken bones, that kind of thing. So it's that. However, the more stuff that goes in the trolley, the more stuff you look at and go, I don't know. Do they want that? Do they need that? The more aisles you go down, the more the bill goes up, the more pointless and when I was young, I wanted stuff, I needed stuff. I got so excited. Christmas, birthdays, it used to make me ill. I'd be ill. That's how excited I was. And I'd get the catalogue and I'd circle the things I wanted. Oh my God, I absolutely need this toy. And oh, if I had that computer game, my life would be complete. Etc. Times a bajillion. So on and so forth. And then you have to narrow it down because you can't have everything. So, oh, I absolutely need this toy. And then you go on about it for weeks. Probably bordering on months. I imagine for my parents/grandparents, their shopping was made a lot easier by having children who were there going, I need this in my life. Okay, I will go to the shop, I will buy that item, I will wrap it, I will put it under the Christmas tree. Boom, baby. You end up in a situation where you're walking along going, well, they don't need it. They don't want it. What's the point? If one of my children had their way, and I don't mean it in that sense, but if one of my children got what they asked for, they'd be opening 2 things Christmas morning. 2. And as I keep saying, the irony of that is I bought a gift for that child at the weekend. That gift is worth more than a third of their siblings' gifts, individual gifts. I just look at it and it's, I'm walking around the shop and I'm like, every single item I've picked up and put in this trolley is plastic. And I hate plastic. I hate everything it is and everything it stands for. I hate it. Yeah, I'm perpetuating it by picking it up, putting it in the trolley and buying it. That's what you have to do. And I'm just like, the consumerism of it all, the whole buy this plastic tat, as some would call it. There's always a way to make this time of year depressing, and I think I do it to myself as almost a way to justify the crushing depression that's felt. I don't know. Ultimately, it's just going to be me, isn't it? Had a couple of small climbing victories this week. A couple of not victories. Failures, there's the word. Yeah. Saturday, new sets get set on Friday. Saturday, early doors, I felt able to go and attempt the new sets. It wasn't, at that moment, it wasn't that busy, and I managed to get on them and done. I flashed 3-ish. I did them first time with no help. Couple didn't get the opportunity to try. I was saying to somebody, Saturday climbing was weird. Not busy like wall to wall people, but enough people there that who were enough spaced out that basically everything was in use pretty much all the time. Which is just really difficult to deal with. Like, a lot of the time you can carve out a place for yourself and just work in that area. But on days like that, you're basically at the mercy of, I'm going to have to go and ask if I can climb this in front of this person, which for me as a person, I don't want to do that. So it puts me in a very difficult position. So I'd had the opportunity to get a load done early doors and then struggled to get any done past that. Obviously for me, a Saturday is an opportunity to see the new stuff, but it's just like it's almost like an information gathering time, because I know that I get Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, 6:30. Last Wednesday there was me, Ed, and one other person. Which then was even weirder when Thursday we went and there was loads of people there at 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, what is happening here? I honestly thought it would hit a point where it was just going to be quiet. But apparently not. It was just Wednesday. I went back to last week's sets. Of the 4 that I've been working with, 2 of them I can just do, so they're done. 1 I can do, but I have to fudge the start, so I've been working on the start. And the 4th one I can do everything apart from the last hold, which part of me is like, well, yeah, you can't do that, fat man. And another part of me is like, yeah, but it's just one reach. And on Saturday I reached up and touched it, but didn't finish it. I'm like, it's just annoying. Couple of routes that are the next level up for me, which I've been trying. One of them, again, I need the last 2 holds and I'm done. Another one has the super annoying hold that I really don't like yet. It's smack in the middle of the route. And there's another one. Yeah. So yeah, basically just, working away, ticking away, whatever, however you want to slice it. So, as I keep saying, it's that time of year, and that time of year brings with it certain things that you need to do with your children as a parent. And one of those things is you'd have to go and see the big man. You guys go see Father Christmas. It was easy when we were kids. My grandparents used to take us to see Father Christmas in Phoenix, the toy shop. 2 birds, 1 stone there. You're in a toy shop. You can say to your grandparents, this is the toy I want for Christmas. Then you go and tell Father Christmas, hey, Father Christmas, this is the toy I want for Christmas. It's over there. I can see it from here. Everybody's all on the same page there, aren't they? Nowadays, and we've done a few. We did one on a train. That was cool. We did, I think last year we went to the bird place. Oh, we did one at the llama place. Alpacas. Yeah, we did one there. So this year we're like, well, we'd like to try somewhere different, see what's out and about. We can only go on certain days anyway, so that narrows it down. We found that the Air Museum were doing a flight with Father Christmas. Spoilers, no flying was involved. So, me and Leanne spoke about it, and I was like, well, I've got a ticket to get us in to the Air Museum anyway, so if we book the Father Christmas thing, it's not going to cost us any more money apart from like maybe one ticket to get all of us in. So that's what we did. So Saturday afternoon, went over to the Air Museum, got there. We were really up against it time-wise. And then basically you go, you get collected, you go into a building, the children do activities, like bauble making. You make some paper aeroplanes, different types of baubles. The baubles were cool. They were like wooden planes and cars and things. Do your design on them. So that's that. And then after a while, they're like, right, it's time for your flight with Father Christmas. What that means is you go to an old plane, you get on the old plane, you sit, and Father Christmas comes. I've got a bit of a... I need to be upfront about this. I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about this. So I may mention the same thing a few times because I have a little bit of an issue with something. So, I'll explain. We sit on the plane. Now, firstly, the plane is on the ground, as we were clear. It's old. It's a plane we've been on before when we've been to the Air Museum. But when you try and sit on the seats, the whole point is that the plane is sloped. You think about like a big old plane, the front wheels are high and the back wheels real low, and the whole thing slopes down. So sitting, tricky. Standing, walking, all of that's tricky. So like, oh, is everybody ready? Yeah, we're ready. Oh, Father Christmas is there. So Father Christmas comes out of the back of the plane. A little bit like, feel like you've missed a trick there. Surely you should have come out of the cockpit. But anyway. Oh, Father Christmas is here. Oh, look, there's Father Christmas. Oh, Father Christmas is here. So he goes through all his checklist of all the children that are there. Ticks them all off. Yes, all these children are here. And for each of the children, he says an interesting fact about that child. I have absolutely no idea how he managed to get that information. So then he's like, oh, each of you, come and see me. I'll give you a present. And if you want, you can have your picture taken. So when it gets to my children, my eldest goes, she gets a gift from Father Christmas. I took a picture, a beautiful picture. Honestly, one of the best pictures I've taken of my eldest. And that's saying something. It's not like she takes bad pictures. It was just this really nice picture. My middle daughter goes, would you like a picture? Yes. Took a picture. My youngest daughter goes, oh, would you like a picture? Yes, I'd like a picture. Take a picture. And my son goes and bursts into tears, because that's what children of that age do. Don't know what it is, don't know why, but whatever. He got his present anyway. They went through the other children that were on the plane, and they went, there you go, that's it. Enjoy the rest of your time here. We'll see you later. So I'm like, oh, should we go to the wishing tree? So we go to it's just a Christmas tree that you write, like a present tag. You write your Christmas wish and you stick it on the wishing tree. It's kind of nice. Got down there. It was just us. Wrote our wishes, stuck them on the tree. Done. We left. A small go in the park. Not exactly park weather. And then we came home. I was very, very clear with my children. You need to know something you can tell Father Christmas you want for Christmas. So for the children who aren't sure what they want 2 weeks from Christmas, you might want to think of something, because you absolutely need to be able to tell Father Christmas what you want for Christmas. Yeah. In that explanation I gave of what we did when we went to see Father Christmas, was there a single mention of telling Father Christmas what you want for Christmas? No, there wasn't, was there? So, yeah, there was that. I said to Lan, I was like, surely that's a staple of going to see Father Christmas. It was designed, well, peek behind the curtain here, people, but it was designed way back in the day to catch those, gotta be careful, walls of it is, but to catch those secret gifts, the gift that the child desperately wants for Christmas, but for some reason hasn't told their parent. And they tell Father Christmas, and their parent is there, and they go, holy shit, I haven't bought them that. And they rush out to the shops, they buy the item, they come home, they wrap it, it goes under the tree from Father Christmas. Everyone's winning in this scenario. I'm like, where was the bit with the Father Christmas where you tell him what you want for Christmas? Where was that? That is a key staple of going to see Father Christmas. Obviously, at this point in time, I can just blame anything they don't get on, well, you never got the chance to tell Father Christmas what you wanted. So I guess that's why you didn't get the one thing you wanted for Christmas. It was nice. It was pleasant. It was quick, easy, and simple. Didn't need to be like some of the others we've been to. But I don't want to be that guy. But as far as repeat business is concerned, I'm not going back for a visit with Father Christmas. So that's kind of a one and done for me. It was nice. I like going to the Air Museum, so I'm basically covered anyway. But if I felt let down, I'm worried that they felt let down. That's kind of what I'm saying. Final thing for the week was today. I think I mentioned earlier that there was another thing. My youngest daughter's first ever dance show. It's a very exciting time. Like her sisters, she's followed in their footsteps in going down the route of dancing. When she was little, when she was in the little group, she seemed to really enjoy it. She was very good at it. She was kind of top dog in her class. So then she got moved up. Once she got moved up, she then had the opportunity to take on, she was doing ballet, then she then got an opportunity to take on tap. Think that the move to doing both has been a bit of a shock to the system. But she's doing it. So, first ever dance show. And had the opportunity to take my other two daughters, who I have been to their dance shows. So it was like they got the opportunity to see the other side of a dance show. Like I say, another one of those where we'd been informed that they were splitting this year's dance shows into two. So rather than an hour and a half performance, let that one sink in when you're there for one of your children. It was going to be a 45-minute, and as I spoke to Nana, and I was like, look, if each of these songs is 5 minutes, which there won't be, there's 10 songs, 50 minutes maximum. As it was, my youngest daughter was in a group that went on second, and then she went on third to last, at which point they then announced that some children were missing from the first performance. So rather than just doing the last two performances and being done, they were going to redo what was second performance, which was my daughter's first performance. So we actually got to see her 3 times rather than the scheduled 2. Leanne said to me, "Oh, I don't know. Is she on next?" I was like, "Yeah, she's on next." She's like, "I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I think I'll end up crying." And I was like, "It'll be okay." So she comes out. The first time she comes out in a tutu and a tights. Everything was white, pristine white. I was like, "Look." She did the dance. It was beautiful. And away she went. And I had the entire rest of the thing watching older children and younger children. And it was a fantastic show. Then it's her turn again. And they come out on the stage and they're all dressed, I think, as reindeers. But I didn't know that this was a thing. I didn't know there was a costume change. I didn't know they'd be in these little, like, reindeer. They had, like, antler horn headbands and they had these little tails on their costumes. They had their faces painted. And they walked out and I started laughing because it was a bit of a shock, like a nervous laugh. But then I started getting a bit emotional. And I'm like, oh, I'm mocking Leanne, who's like, oh, I might cry. And I'm like, don't be silly. And there's me like, oh my word, I don't know what's wrong with me. They all did very well. All the little people did very well. It's always good when they can do the actions all the way through the 3-minute performance. Watching my daughter, I was like, she's doing it. She's doing all the actions, doing all the moves. She's doing really well. No, she's not. Oh, she's back. It's like somebody put 50p in and turned the key. Oh, she's doing it all again. Yeah. And she's gone again. Okay. And she's back. And we're finished. That was basically how it went. And then, getting the opportunity, like a freebie, getting the third one. It was all very good. It was all very enjoyable. It was all for charity. They raised a lot of money. That was the point where I found out how much the tickets were and was like, I'm not surprised they made a lot of money. That's not a cheap ticket. But anyway, it's for charity, isn't it? That's the week. Yeah, that brings us up to today. I could talk about the torrential rain and the havoc it's playing with my garden, but I might skip that one. I watched a movie. Like I said, no TV. TV's a weird one. I've got a lot of TV that I should be watching, but I cannot express how little time I have at the moment. I watched the film Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre. Guy Ritchie's been on a bit of a run of movies for a while. Seems to have basically gone in with Amazon. A lot of his movies seem to be going straight onto Amazon. So I'd recently rewatched Wrath of Man, and the film it suggested I watch was Operation Fortune, and I went, oh, that was kind of on my list, so yeah, let's give it a go. Let's go through the upside. No. Let's go through a few things. Downsides first. Because it was a Guy Ritchie film, I was expecting a twist through the whole thing. Which is annoying to spend an entire film going, well, there's going to be a twist any minute. Especially when I basically got to the end and went, so there was no twist then. So, whatever. Another downside is that the female lead, or the female character in it, is hands down one of the most annoying characters that I think has ever been in a film. There was a lot of, and I have to be careful what I say here, there was a lot of making out she was something that she wasn't, I'll say, and let's just leave that there. Also, I honestly thought she was going to be the bad guy. Like I felt like they kind of alluded early on that she could have been the bad guy. Absolutely wasn't. Spoilers, by the way. And another one is Hugh Grant in The Gentleman. There was this big deal made about the fact that he played like a Cockney, and he did a very good job of playing this, like, just basically a Cockney scumbag. And obviously that is worlds away from every role he's ever played in every film he's ever been in. So it was this big deal and a big thing. What then felt strange was for him to appear in Operation Fortune as basically the same character. It was weird. A lot of the time I was wondering whether they were going to do like these guys are a spy agency and they're supposed to be really good, but actually they're rubbish. That never seemed to be a thing. And for the majority of the film, it was fine if you overlooked all of those things I've said so far. Now, unfortunately, as you can probably guess if you've not seen it, few of those things were big parts of the film, big aspects of the film. So, like I say, if you can overlook it, there you go. The upsides were, it was okay. It was quite enjoyable. It was a fine film to watch. Right up until the back end. And I was like, like I say, I'm like, there's going to be a twist. So I was on high alert for the twist, because we're at the back end of the film. But something that I found super interesting and super cool was the back end of that film was basically like a live action version of Ghost Recon. I texted a friend and I was like, have you seen this film? He's like, yes, I have. I was like, did you feel like the back end of it was just live action Ghost Recon? He was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, honestly, it made me want a live action Ghost Recon movie. I was like, that needs to be a thing. The back end was really good. It was really well done. Super sort of precise, I guess. Spent the whole time, like I say, waiting for the twist that never came. And that was that. The film ended. And I went, okay, I guess that's that. In hindsight, I kind of feel like I'm a bit like, I'd maybe watch that again. And the moment I think that, I go, but the woman in it is just awful. And you've got the whole Hugh Grant thing. Yeah. I might give it a while and then watch it again. Couple of computer games to talk about. One is a VR game that I picked up on the cheap, which is something I like to do. A VR game that I've been aware of, but steered well clear of, because I was under the impression it was a multiplayer game. And if you know me, you know I ain't got time for no multiplayer nonsense. I'm too old for that stuff. Problem I had was I was buying this and buying that and buying the other, and every time I bought something, this game somehow managed to just appear. It was just there. It was like, hey, what about me? And it was in a bundle and blah, blah, blah. I looked at it, and the Oculus does this super weird thing, which I may have mentioned. If you look at a game and you go into it, it's like, hey, this game's, let's say it's £25. Okay, we're all on the same page. This game is £25. If you scroll down and it says, this game features in a bundle, click on the bundle and go into it. And it'll say, this game is in this bundle. And in the bundle, it's with this game and this game and this game. And you own one or more of those games. Like, all right, okay. So you can have this game for £18. And I always say to people, that's super naughty. Because it should really be the other way round. You should go into the game to look at buying it, and it should say you own another game in a bundle that this game is in a bundle of. You can have it cheaper, and then you press buy and away you go. I feel it's done on purpose to trick people into paying full price for games they can get cheaper. You can also go directly to the bundles and look through for ones that you own the other games in the bundle, and obviously get stuff cheaper doing it that way. Now then, a little bit about the game. I believe the game is made by the same people that make Left 4 Dead, or made Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood. Two games I have owned, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, and I own, I believe, Back 4 Blood. And although I like to think they are games for me, they're kind of not, largely because of the multiplayer aspect. You kind of need people, and I don't like to need people when it comes to computer games. I have played both of those other games that I've mentioned with friends, and it does make them better. But as I was explaining to somebody on Saturday, those games can be super stressful. They can take it out of you a lot. And at the end of it, you just feel kind of wiped out. Like you don't want to play anymore. And really, for a computer game, that's kind of the opposite of what they're supposed to be going for. So I do believe that you really have to be into that kind of game. So I was like, hey, I'd spend more on buying coffee. So I'll buy it, I'll give it a whirl. I know I can play it single player. That's that. You do a little training mission before you get frozen. There's a lot of ice involved in this game. Ice and zombies, basically. And then you get unfrozen by a guy who saves you. And then you go and do the first mission. And I went and did the first mission, and it took the rest of the night. And I went, it's fine, it's okay. It's, it is just Left 4 Dead. But it took a long time. And I don't have that kind of time. So this could be the end of this game for me, because I just don't know when I would play it. Like, hey, I'm going to give it another go tomorrow night. And that's that. So the next night I had, guns to upgrade and money to spend and blah, 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 all of this. And then I went to do the second mission. And I went out with my squad of AI teammates, and away we went. And we did all the stuff and got to the first safe room, and we did all the next stuff, we got to the second safe room, we did all the stuff after that, and we got to the third safe room, and we did all the stuff after that, and then we finished the level, and it took us about 20 minutes, and I went, oh, well, it's one of two things. The first level was really, 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 really long, like a baptism of fire, or the second level was really, 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 really short, and the next one's going to be back to being long. Let's find out. And I did the next one, and it was about 25 minutes, and I went, oh, well, that's a game changer, is that? Because if these levels are super playable, then this could actually be a lot of fun. I have played multiple levels since then. I actually died on a level last night, and at the time it would have taken me to do, I had to leave it there. So hopefully in a little bit I'll get back to playing that. I will say this, and this is probably the best way to describe a game for me at the moment. It's the kind of game that when I'm not playing it, during the day when I'm doing other stuff, I wish I was playing it. It's the kind of game that makes you want to play it when you're not playing it. And I think that is exactly what you want from a computer game, especially for the people that made it. One downside, this is a small thing. It's a game that is designed to be played over and over and over to get currency, to unlock better weapons and better upgrades, and ultimately just play it over and over again. I wanted a shotgun. I was like, I really want a shotgun in this game because I really feel like a shotgun is the way to go with a game like this. And I unlocked the shotgun. And it said you can have this shotgun for 12,000 of the credits that you use in the game. And at that point, I had 5,000. And you get about 1,000 per mission. And I went, oh, it's one of those kinds of games. So yes, it's very much designed to be played a lot over and over and over again. Speaking of computer games, finally I have been playing on the PS5 the game Forspoken. A true definition of sometimes when games are reviewed, the review is on the money. The review for Forspoken is that the main character, the character you play as, is so incredibly dislikable that it's super distracting for the game. So the main character has like this big bracelety bangly thing, which is the thing that kind of gives you superpowers. And the relationship between them is awful because it talks at you, and the main character is super awful. Just a terrible character. And that's the main character. That's the character you're spending the entire game with. And they're awful. It makes for a truly unpleasant game-playing experience. Something I will say is this. Every now and then I get a game, and for whatever reason, not always because the game is bad, but for whatever reason, the game just puts me to sleep. Not necessarily because it's boring, not necessarily because it's bad, or not necessarily because it's badly made. Just some games have a weird effect on me and they make me fall asleep. And you may have guessed it, Forspoken is one of those games. It knocks me out. And I mean out cold. There is more I have played of this game asleep than awake. It's weird to play a game that you have absolutely no idea what's going on in it because you've played it in your sleep. And yeah, I was playing it last night and that game knocks me out. Honestly, from another perspective, so far it's not great. It's really unpleasant to play because of the choices they decided to go with for the main characters. So yeah, there's that. That's it. That's it for the week. If you haven't already, go back and check out the Darkest Timeline episodes that have got special guests. They're very good episodes. They've been very enjoyable to do. I am looking for other special guests, so if you want to jump on, give me a shout and let me know. But that's it. I'll catch you next time. So there we go. What do you think of that? Another one done. Another one gone. Another week gone. Another week closer to, for me, at this point, the end of the year. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Before you go, don't forget to do all the clicks. Click the like, share, subscribe button. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button so you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
This has been another episode of CookieCast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.